So as a creative, should you focus on creating what you love and what you feel like creating and what you actually genuinely like, or should you focus on who you are creating for, your audience, whatever it may be? Where should you put your attention? This is a huge damn question, and if you can get this for you, what works for you, it's going to unlock your ability to just flow and create as best you possibly can. And the reason I know this is because I've done it for myself. I've dove into this, the two dualities of these two things, and finding out what do the best of the best really think about this, and where can we set our attention whenever we're gonna create something. So I was really at a impasse with this, because I was like, I want to create stuff that I like. I want to create stuff that I feel like, okay, that I like, that I enjoy that, but also I didn't want to just forget about the audience. I didn't want to forget about you guys. I didn't want to forget about thinking about y'all, but I didn't know where to balance, because if you think too much about the audience, then you kind of lose yourself, and then you kind of like are overthinking. You can't, it's like trying to have a conversation and you're only thinking about pleasing the other person. It's not going to go very well. But also, if you're not thinking about the other person at all, then all of a sudden you just kind of lose the connection with that person. So I really wanted to find this, and I dove into lots of different people and what they had to say about it. I dove into some of my favorite creatives and their creative process for this, and I think it may help you in figuring out where this may lie for you. So firstly, I dove into like Pharrell, Kanye, Shakira, even like Selena. I dove into people like that, but also movie directors, James Gunn. I dove into the writers of Avengers Endgame, Avengers Infinity War, and I really just like to hear what they had to say. So for people like Pharrell, he would talk about being able to just like chase a feeling. He said that he would chase a feeling, and that was the one main thing that he was really trying to do, instead of trying to chase a formula or something specific. He was really chasing the feeling and being able to create from that. But also, he said, you know, he would talk about how he would create off of what he likes, but he also said he's trying to do it. They asked him like, okay, why are you hiring the people that you're hiring to do this creative process and designing this stuff? And he was like, I've always wanted to hire people that are pushers of different. But he said, not just pushers of different in an esoteric way, which is basically saying if it's you and another person out of 500 people may understand that idea, that's an esoteric artistic style, you know what I'm saying? Like, other people don't have to understand it, and that's okay. That's a certain way of creating stuff. But he's like, I wanted to do it in a communicative way, and he said it's a way that you can help an 8-year-old and an 80-year-old have the same visceral feeling in what you are creating. And that is powerful, because it's basically saying we can create something that can be communicative, that can connect with people, and that can help connect with lots of people through what we were doing, which is thinking about the audience. But also what he was saying about the feeling, that's thinking about the feeling also. We're gonna get into like how we balance this out together at the end. But then I dove into Kanye, and he talks about like, you know, he speaks from the gut. He has to shut off his thinking mind and forget about what he knows. And when he's creating and designing something, he basically said that he goes into his gut and basically thinks like a child, thinks like a 3-year-old. And that allows him to be able to create from this place, be able to create from that authentic place. But he also said he speaks to the souls of other people. And, you know, Tyler, the Creator, is another one that was great at this. And he said that when he's creating, he has this saying. He says, create like a child and edit like a scientist, which is a beautiful saying. So what he was basically saying with that, and what we can use from that, is he said that when he's creating, you have to kind of just get all the ideas out, let it flow out, kind of push it out there. And then when you're editing it, when you're looking back at it, you're kind of seeing, okay, this is what's working, this is what's not working. Here's how I can edit this. Here's how this works for certain people. Here's how this sound affects certain people. And that's where you start editing it and being like, okay, I really like this batch of stuff. I don't like this. And you start editing it and making it the best that it can be. But it's a 2-part process. You have to be able to have creating like a child first to get those great ideas out and to just allow them to come out. And this is kind of what James Gunn also talks about, and this is beautiful. I love James Gunn's thought process on it, because I love his freaking movies. If y'all have ever seen, he's created the Guardians of the Galaxy, he's created Superman. And what he was basically saying is, firstly, when he was creating the movie, the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, he was a little bit nervous because this was his first like big time movie, and he thought that people weren't really he was gonna alienate people by the way he was creating it. He thought it was gonna be too much comedy. He didn't know for sure how far he could lean into that. But when he gave it to I believe it's the head, the CEO of Marvel, and he showed him the script, the guy basically told him, make it more James Gunn. Like, just lean more into yourself. And James Gunn said that he learned to trust that what he likes works. That was a powerful thing. Like learning to trust what he liked was going to work. You know, his comedy, the way that he did things, even though it was different, he said that he had to stop thinking about alienating people so much. But here's the other thing that helps us also balance this out, because James Gunn also, I was watching a video, an old interview that he did, and he's basically saying that a movie is meant to elicit a reaction. And he said that's the whole thing, that if the movie elicits a reaction in people, that's how you know it's either working or not working. You can't deny that. He said that he would get people like his brother and other people around him to read his scripts, and they would basically be able to tell him and give him feedback off of that. And that's what he was talking about. Like, movies are meant to be a big machine to get a specific reaction out of people. So he would like think about the audience while he was creating. And I was like, wow, that's actually very freaking powerful. He was thinking about the audience while he was creating, and he would give them he would get feedback from them when he would do the test screening. They would do these test screenings, and he said that's where he learned more about movie making than basically any other part of his life, in that first screening for Scooby-Doo that he created. And he also said, like, okay, so the main thing here is it's a very big balance between these two, but I really just want to give you all the evidence for both sides, and then allow you to know that we are putting them together and how we can masterfully do that. This was boggling my brain, so it's so beautiful, and I really think I got in it good for you guys. So he was basically just saying, like, you know, when he was first creating that Scooby-Doo movie, he was thinking too much about, like, this person wants this person wants this, I gotta make these people happy. He said, also, one of the people that you gotta make happy is yourself. He said, like, you gotta be able to make yourself happy with what you're doing, because he didn't feel great about, you know, being pulled so much in that first Scooby-Doo movie, and he learned to trust more of what he likes and being more strong about his opinions. So that is his way of doing it. And so we have the feeling inside. Shakira also said that she would basically just trust her intuition and instincts when she's making songs. I thought it was crazy. I was like, how do you just birth this beautiful freaking song out of nowhere? But she said, like, she kind of just, there was a time when she was walking from the barn to her house, and in the middle of that, that's when she got the idea for the lyrics to Waka Waka, $1 billion or $1 billion views on YouTube song, in just walking there. She said she knew she had it, she just got it, she needed a pen and paper to write it down, and she played it on the guitar, and she already knew that it was a strong song just because it was strong, even playing it on the guitar. So it's this feeling that you get, a trust and an intuition. It doesn't always make sense, but we're learning to trust our instincts so that we can just let what God has put inside of us. It's literally, that's who God has made you. I forgot where I heard that quote, but your instincts and your intuition, I believe it was from Kanye. He said that that's what God has made you. That's the unique person that God has made you. The more you can trust your instincts, the more that you can get your unique perspective, your unique feelings about things into the world that people are going to need. So you have the feeling part, but you also have the ability to think about the audience. And the way that this all balances out is, there is a quote by Martin Scorsese, who is basically a big-time film director. I believe he's won multiple Oscars. And what he said is that he makes movies for himself, but he also makes them for the audiences. He said it's a very delicate balance. That put everything together for me. So it's trusting that feeling and intuition and that gut instinct that you have, but also you can think about the audience. But it's kind of like you're balancing both of them in your mind. Sometimes it's going to be 80% feeling it, like maybe you don't know for sure if the audience is going to love this, and then 20%, you know, thinking about the audience at that time. But sometimes it's going to be 80% the audience. You know, if you're getting feedback off of stuff, that's listening to the audience and really getting a gauge on what that really is. Oh man, and there was another guy who makes songs with Billie Eilish, and he was basically saying that, you know, you have to trust your taste. He said that the taste is so important. He said that a mentor that was helping him when he was first growing up told him that your taste is so important, and it's not always going to be about what currently quote unquote works, like what is the norm, what people think should work and how it should be, isn't always going to match your taste. And sometimes you have to trust that taste if you're actually going off of that taste. What that means is, like, if somebody says to you, well, he says, so you trust the taste, and the taste is your greatest asset, but it's also your strongest defense, which means if somebody comes in and says, hey, that's not right, like, I don't actually think that sounds good, you can be defensive about it and be like, well, no, I just think it sounds good. But he says if you don't truly think that, and you're kind of just like, yeah, if you hadn't done that for a specific reason, then it's okay to change that stuff based off of what people are giving feedback off of. This is what James Gunn was talking about. But if you truly are like, no, I have it this way for a specific reason, and somebody comes in and says like, no, this is bad, you can trust your taste and continue to lean into that even though people are saying against it. But this is the whole thing. I want y'all guys to understand, and all of us to understand, that it is this creative duality. That's what I've titled this. It's a creative duality that we have to find between thinking and feeling what we connect with. And Rick Rubin's another one that's great here. He's a producer that's worked with Kanye, Pharrell, all these great people. And he was basically saying that, you know, his number one rule is to just trust what you love. Create what you love. Create what you are actually feeling, what you actually like. He said other people's opinions don't matter. So we have very vast things on both sides, but it's like, can you find that balance for you? You know, thinking about the audience is like, in a conversation, if you're only thinking about yourself, it's not gonna go well because you're not thinking about what that other person needs to hear, or, you know, making it engaging and entertaining for them. But you can also find different things in just your instincts of creating stuff. Oh, here's a great one. So it's kind of like a balance of self-amusement and connection. That's really what it is. I learned this from a guy named Owen Cook, and he basically was detailing how in conversations or in communication, what you're basically doing is you're trying to self-amuse. You're saying things that you generally find funny. You're saying things that you generally enjoy talking about, and you're finding the fun in that convo, and that's where it all starts. But you can't just focus on, it's a balance between that and focusing also on connection, having empathy, respect, and love for the other person that leads you to think about them also. And that's okay, because he says if you go out and you're like, oh, I'm just gonna fart in everybody's faces because I think that that's funny and that's just me self-amusing myself, that's not actually gonna connect with people. That's gonna push people away. There has to be an understanding and an empathy to it, and that's what makes it communicative and makes your art connect. So that's the beautiful balance. I love to call this creative duality, and I'm still figuring out my perfect balance, but I love these concepts and I wanted to share these with you. If you're thinking about, okay, how do I balance these two? Because I think if we can really find what that is for us, but I think it's just, there's no one right answer for this. It's both of them are correct. And it's just finding that in the process of trusting your gut instinct. The way that I've put this, okay? So it's like, how do we also trust our gut instinct? I want to add this in here also. How do we trust our gut instinct, and what really is that? So it's basically, you're seeing what you want to get to, you're feeling what you like, you're developing a gut instinct by being like, okay, this is what I kind of like. I'm trying to make visualizations and like kind of trying to see where I'm trying to get to, because that allows your gut, your supercomputer of your mind, to start to get you there. So the thing that I've kind of compared this to is basically, I've been playing golf and I've been watching certain golfers and their swings. I started watching Tiger Woods and his swing in 2000, and all of a sudden my mind starts getting me there, and when I watch myself back, my gut is telling me it's not good enough yet. I can see instantly like, oh my gosh, my swing, there's something off about it, even if I don't fully understand it yet. And it starts to switch up like, okay, maybe it's this, maybe it's this. It starts trying to solve the problem. And I learned about that in a book called The Inner Game of Tennis. And the method in the inner game of tennis is basically observe, set, let, and observe. What that basically means is observe what you're doing, set in your mind what you're trying to get to, let it happen, which means let your supercomputer start to work as you're kind of playing out there, and then observe it again, see what's going wrong, see where you can adjust, just allowing your mind to see it, and then run it back again. Set it again, let it happen. And Jared McCain, who's a guy who plays in the NBA, talked about that he read this book before every single game, pretty much. And it's just such a great way to grow, to get better at things, because this is the process for trusting our gut. Basically, the letting it happen, well, the observing, the setting allows our gut to know, okay, this is where we're getting to, this is how we can start to refine it. And the more that you can know, like, okay, I actually like this specific thing, or I like the way that this is, like, let's say James Gunn is making a movie and when he's making the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, the things that he liked and what was James Gunn was the humor, the emotion of the movie, and I would say probably, I don't know, the loving connection of the people in there. It's loving connection, the emotion and humor of it, and it was so good, all brought together. Well, character development and all that stuff. He's just great at everything, man. So when he's doing that, he knows, oh, that's what I love. I love that in a movie, and he's like, okay, he has that in his gut. And all of a sudden, when he starts to make the movie, it starts to tweak it up. In the first movie, when he first wrote the script, like we were talking about, he accidentally thought a little bit too much about the alienating people in a bad way, in terms of like, he was letting it dim his light versus saying, I want to connect with people, I'm going to focus on that in a good way. He was focusing on it in a bad way that dimmed his light, and that was him quieting his gut, quieting that. But what he could basically do, once he heard from Josh Wheaton, I think his name was, that he just needs it to be more James Gunn, he wants it to be more James Gunn, that allowed his gut to come out and be like, okay, this is what we're setting in the mind, and then he was letting it happen by the whole rewrite that he did. And that's how this beautiful movie got made. That is what you can do, what every single one of us can do in anything that we are creating. What is it that you're actually trying to go for? You know, in these videos, I'm trying to go for more of a, you know, I'm trying to have more fun. I'm trying to just spread some faith, spread some love, and spread that stuff. And the more I get into my awareness, the more I'm setting it in my gut that this is what we're trying to get to. The more I can see what I actually want these videos to get to, the more I'm actually going to be able to trust my gut that I'm going to record these videos, watch them back, not judge them so much while I'm recording, watch them back, and I'll know pretty much instantly, okay, this is what we need to fix. This is where we can get better. That's what we're trying to do here. So it's the creative duality. Remember that, a creative duality. And just allow yourself to trust your gut, trust what you love, but also you can allow yourself to think about the audience, think about what they might want and how it can work for them, get the feedback from them, and then kind of know that it's a balance. Know that it's like not something that you're gonna have perfectly, but we can balance both of them and allow ourselves, when we get up on camera, when you get up creating your stuff, to just play, to just allow yourself to let go and let it happen. And then when you're watching it back, but also, yeah, when you're watching it back, you can start to be that scientist that's like, okay, here's how we can fix this. Here's how we can get a little bit better. Here's how, not just can we fix this for the audience, but how can we fix this to where I like it more? That is a beautiful thing right there. So let's do this today, ladies and gentlemen, man. I love you guys very much. Hope you guys having a beautiful day. Let me know what you're creating down in the comments below. Let me know where you're at with it, because yeah, I would love to know. There's my beautiful cat right there. Love you guys. Hope you have an amazing day. Talk to you on the next video. Peace.